Debbie, Jorde, and Heather and Logan have faced many challenges in their lives, more than most of us will face in many lifetimes. Inspiring doesn't even begin to cover this story, and I don't know how many of you have read the book yet. Luckily, Debbie decided to take on yet another challenge and write about their journey, so that aspiring medical students, young families, all of us can learn that challenges, as daunting as they seem, don't have to sideline us from happy and productive lives. Maybe one of those students will find a cure for Miller syndrome. Maybe another family will find hope and strategies in Jorde's story. A finalist in 2011 for Wasatch Woman of the Year, Jorde and her family are busy. And there's nothing we love more than welcoming local authors into our midst, of which you are one now. Please help me to warmly welcome author of 8 Fingers and 8 Toes. I love this cover, Debbie Jorde.
It's so nice to be here and to have your friendly faces out there waiting for me. So I decided what I would do is read the first chapter, and I printed it off so it's nice big fonts. And then I'm just going to tell you in my own words a little bit more about the story. And then I'm going to read a writing by Heather, because Heather's a writer, and she wrote and contributed a lot of writings to the book. And Logan's the artist that designed the cover. The whole cover is Logan's idea, and he designed it. So I'm going to read his artist statement, and then you guys can ask questions. You like questions? So I will start now. This is chapter 1. My first baby was finally coming. The large round mirror mounted on the ceiling of the delivery room was positioned at the perfect angle to give me a good view of the birth. At this time, ultrasounds were not routinely performed, so we had no idea of the baby's gender or health. As my husband Terry sat next to me, I was filled with anticipation and curiosity, wondering whether we would have a boy or a girl, imagining which one of us the baby would resemble. Outside, the Utah landscape was white and pristine with last night's snow, but inside the hospital, the world was a sea of stainless steel and blue-green surgical scrubs. The room pulsed with a sense of excitement. I looked at Terry, whose face revealed his own expectancy and wonder, and then back at the mirror. As the baby pushed out of my body, I spotted the crown. The swatch of dark hair pleased me. It meant that my baby wasn't bald. The presence or absence of hair seems a small matter now, but I was young and naive. Nothing in my experience as a 20-year-old woman had prepared me for the reality of what was to come. When the baby's head emerged, the doctor used a small suctioning bulb to remove fluids from its nose and mouth. I wasn't worried. This was a routine procedure performed on newborns. Besides, Dr. Kirk had been delivering babies for many years. He had delivered my brother, Cloyd, 18 years earlier. When he finished suctioning, he eased the baby's shoulders out. Once freed, the rest of the body slid out, wet and slippery, and the doctor exclaimed, "You have a girl!" Terry leaned closer and squeezed my hand. I wasn't worried that he might be disappointed not to have a boy. Throughout my pregnancy, whenever he was asked if he wanted a boy or a girl, he had responded that it didn't matter, as long as the baby had 10 fingers and 10 toes. Suddenly, my eyes caught sight of our baby's body. She looked strange to me, nothing like I expected. Her skin was a pale blue and coated with a creamy substance. Was that normal? My eyes flashed to Terry, whose brown eyes revealed his own uncertainty. My eyes quickly darted to Dr. Kirk, but his focused expression revealed little. My attention finally settled back to my daughter. She didn't seem to be moving. I was frightened. Was she alive? Panic coursed through me. I had heard the term stillborn before, but had never imagined that something could go wrong with my baby. I was young and healthy. So was Terry. Nothing could be wrong with our child, could it? As the doctors placed the baby on my abdomen, her body flopped like a rag doll. Was she breathing? I couldn't tell. My heart pounded wildly inside my chest. A pair of nurses moved nearby, but my attention was focused on my small, motionless baby, and the doctor who was busy clearing more fluids from her nose, mouth, and throat. The word breathe was like a chant inside my head. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Finally, after long and excruciating moments, gurgling sounds arose from her mouth. She made noises that sounded like muffled cries. Her arms and legs moved frantically, as if she had the sensation of falling. Yes, she was very much alive. I was relieved. My eyes moistened with tears. And then I saw her arms. Really saw her arms. Something was wrong. These were not normal arms, not normal hands. Now I was the one struggling to breathe. My pulse raced as I tried to make sense of what I was seeing. Her small bluish arms looked abnormally short and were severely bent at the wrists. Her hands and fingers looked really small, too small, even for a newborn. Just as quickly as my eyes absorbed the images, my mind worked to deny them. This wasn't supposed to happen, not to us. My mind raced. Her arms were fine. She had simply been cramped inside the birth canal. She would look differently in a few hours. She just needed a little time in less confined space. What else could explain her odd appearance? Nothing was wrong with my baby. She was normal. She had to be. I had to make my denial real. I whispered out loud, "No, her arms aren't bent." I blinked to clear my vision, but that did nothing to correct the distorted arms on my baby's body. A lump was forming in my throat. I could feel the muscles in my face strain from the fear and worry that consumed me. My voice was like a prayer inside my mind. Oh, please, let her arms be all right. This can't be happening. This isn't real. I need to know that what I'm seeing isn't the truth. And then I heard Terry's voice. "Something's wrong with her arms," he said. The certainty in his voice hit me like a fist. At that moment, I knew that what I thought I was seeing was true. Those words reverberated inside my head. Something's wrong with her arms. Is everything else all right? I mean, besides her arms? I asked. I barely managed to form the words, but I needed some kind of reassurance, some good news. Dr. Kirk, who was in his 60s and had undoubtedly comforted other new mothers in difficult situations, placed his hand gently on my shoulder. The expression on his lined, porous face softened as he spoke. "Well, Debbie, this isn't the kind of baby I anticipated for you." My heart sank. This wasn't the kind of baby I anticipated either. That night was filled with tears. As I would fall asleep, I would wake up only to think I was having a nightmare. And realizing it wasn't a nightmare at all, it was really happening. I'd cry myself back to sleep only to wake up again with the same nightmare, realizing it's not a nightmare. The next morning, I called the nurses' station and I asked them to stop all my phone calls. I wasn't ready to hear the words, "I'm so sorry." I wasn't ready to hear those words because if I heard those words, I would have to admit something terrible is happening. And I wasn't ready yet. I spent the morning crying and in denial. Later that afternoon, mother instincts were starting to trickle in. I put on my robe, I slipped my feet into my slippers, and I walked down to the nursery. I was standing outside the nursery by myself, looking in at the one baby that was in the nursery. The nameplate said Heather Madsen. All the other babies must have been with their mother. And I thought, that poor baby, she's all alone because her mother doesn't want her. And I'm the mother. And a kind nurse wrapped her arm around my waist and asked if I wanted to hold Heather. So I went in and held Heather, and mother instincts got stronger and stronger. Heather started to have some problems and was rushed to Primary Children's Hospital. She had a heart murmur, she was aspirating, she was jaundiced. She was in the hospital for 2 weeks. By the end of that 2 weeks, all I wanted to do was take my baby home and be her mother. I didn't care what was wrong with her. I just wanted to take her home. So I took Heather home, and when she was 1.5 years old, the geneticist called me on the phone and said, I think we were wrong. She doesn't have Treacher-Collins. We think she has another syndrome. There's only 3 cases in medical history, but we're not sure, so we're going to send all our information to another geneticist. So we waited, and then the news came back. Heather has postaxial acrofacial dysostosis, now known as Miller syndrome. And there were only 3 cases in medical history. So I was told it won't happen again. In fact, it's a chain mutation. Just the genes started to divide, and this is what we ended up with. And I probably even had less of a chance of it happening again than the average person, because it had already happened. So I went home happy with that news, because I wanted to have another baby. 3 years later, Heather was 3 years old, Logan was born on April Fool's Day. That was a shock, in a different way than Heather being born. So Logan again had the same problems Heather had, aspirating and jaundice and a heart murmur, and stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks. And then we took Logan home and continued life with doctors and surgeries and living in the unknown until last year. Lived 33 years without the answers as to why Heather and Logan had Miller syndrome and why they had a lung disease. The other children that we knew of didn't have a lung disease, so we still didn't know why Heather and Logan had a lung disease, which is the most threatening thing to their health. So when they sequenced our family's genome, for the first time ever, they sequenced a family of 4, they found the Miller gene that causes the syndrome. Mom and Dad carry the gene. It's a recessive gene, 25% chance of the child having both genes, one from mom, one from dad, and being affected with Miller syndrome. They also found the gene for their lung disease, primary ciliary dyskinesia. It affects the ciliary, the little hairs that move all the junk out of the lungs, and affects hearing and smell and other bodily functions. So now we finally had an answer to their lung disease, and we were so happy. And we finally felt like some loose ends were tied up, and we had some resolution. And we also were very happy that something that we contributed to would bring answers to other families, so they wouldn't have to wait for 33 years or more, or a whole lifetime, without knowing the answers. So that meant a lot to us, and contributing with our book, and contributing with our contribution of our genes has made a big difference in our life. I'd like to read chapter 24. This is one of Heather's writings, one of my favorites. And I think I'll have a little drink of water first. Heather's writings are sprinkled throughout the book. It is recess again, and I am left alone as the kids scatter away from the building to their favorite playtime activity. Looking down at my shoes, I watch my feet step across the rocky asphalt and hear the crunching and popping of tiny rocks slipping out from under my rubber soles. The stiff asphalt supports my weight until I meet a soft spot where it crumbles around the cracks. Individual pieces break off and scrape beneath my shoes, writing a script of my loneliness. As I kick rocks and slide my shoes along the lonely pathway, the sound is comforting, predictable, as it greets me each time the bell rings and I dodge my way through the noisy, jumbling kids out onto the playground into the deafening silence of rejection. Scouting the area, I wonder if someone just might look in my direction this time and invite me over to join and play. It is a hopeless thought, since I know none of the kids and do not understand the unwritten rules of playground schmoozing. I hear them laugh in the distance as they compete at tetherball and race on the monkey bars. They are sharing something special. For whatever reason, I am not privileged to join. My thoughts are my only friend. A sharp breeze grazes my skin in the cool fall weather, chilling me as I find my usual spot on the cement stairs to sit and wait and wonder. I watch the clouds' metamorphosis grow from a brief cheery hello to an extended, ominous cover, threatening rain. Glancing at the kids, I notice which had jackets and hats on. One girl lost her hat as she moved about quickly playing tag with a group. Another girl picked up the hat and gave it back, a gesture of friendship and comfort that I longed for. Feeling an urge from the cold cement siphoning my body heat and an increasing restlessness in my soul, I decide to go swing today. My senses alert me to flying balls and kids running without looking where they are headed as I make my way over to the swing set. Relief grows when I near the swing set and grab the cold metal chains. I toss myself into the swing and begin pumping, awakening my muscles to life and sucking my breath as I merge with the wind, flying higher and away. The snugness of the seat comforts me while I glide through the air in a predictable rocking rhythm that calms me. I close my eyes and feel the motion penetrate through me. Only after what feels like hours do I slow the rhythm and stop the swing. In the distance, a bell rings, signaling me to join the others in a scramble for the door. I stand on my feet and say goodbye to my swing. Visualizing my countdown chart, I mark off another recess in Jorde and smile. Logan, when he told me his idea for the cover of the book, me holding a rope with Heather and Logan holding on, I was so excited. One, because I loved the idea, and two, because I didn't have to come up with an idea. And then Logan had Heather and me come to his apartment where he set up the rope, his camera, to take the photograph, which seems like it would be an easy enough photograph except that the photographer's hand needed to be in the photo. So I was standing on the ladder, Heather was propped in a certain location so that Logan could run over and get his hand right where it needed to be on the rope. And believe it or not, they each cared which hand was on the rope. And they both wanted the hand that makes the best fist. And so we had the photo. And then we decided that because we wanted the reader to know that it was the mother holding the rope, Logan photoshopped my fingernail polish on. So that's the story. And then Logan took a picture of the sky. And that was the cover of the book. So now I'd like to read Logan's artist statement, which is in the book. And Logan had an art exhibit in 2006 at Art Access Gallery. And because of Logan's chronic pain and the medications that he has to take for his pain, he hasn't been able to paint as much as he did to get enough paintings for that. But he still loves his art and loves to paint and does it one day at a time, one step at a time. This is in chapter 21, quoting Logan. At a young age, I began drawing. The desire to communicate through images extended into high school, where I experimented with acrylics and oils, working in non-objective art. After graduating, I recognized my fascination for the graphic arts and earned my associate's degree in graphic design multimedia from Utah Career College. The field of graphic design was difficult for me to access. Discouraged and enveloped in depression, I sold all my possessions and moved to Palm Springs to work for my uncle as an assistant landscaper. Exposure to beautiful nature I was working with renewed my desire to paint. With my hyper-focused mind, I decided to paint the side of a palm tree close up. My vision of becoming an artist was born. I returned to Salt Lake City. A peace lily was my first flower. I painted the background a solid, bright red hue to balance the amplified greens and yellows of the stamen and stalk. Pow! Visual ecstasy. I experienced colors and textures emotionally, the way I feel love and hate. My art defines my exaggerated senses. Therefore, I call it exaggerated realism. These creations are not traditional paintings, but intense portraits of nature flooding the viewer with enriched passion. Positioning my subject asymmetrically triggers an electrical spark of comfortable recognition inside my brain, inherently creating a contemporary look. Art has helped me reach inside myself, as well as acting as an equalizer for me in society. Being an artist has allowed me to express my unique perceptions. I've been denying that my disabilities exist most of my life, because I want people to see the many aspects of who I am. Today, I am learning to embrace my inequalities and accept reality. Yes, I am different, and that is becoming one of my strengths. Heather has a degree in psychology that she gained through the University of Utah, Logan a degree in graphic design. And they love questions, and we're happy to answer questions. Any questions that you have, Heather and Logan, being highly intelligent, enjoy conversation. However, another challenge that they face is that they are on the autism spectrum. So they enjoy questions from you because then that gives them a context for the conversation. They have more difficulty continuing talking. Like me, I could just keep talking and talking and talking and talking, and I wouldn't even remember what the question is. However, Heather and Logan will answer a question, and then they don't know typically what else to talk about. So they require cues from you, which are just more questions, which they're happy to answer. So thank you so much for being here. It's so much